everybody, welcome back to Angel's Crafts. I'm Audrey, and this week we are, well, actually this one was done last week, but both Mr. Crafts and myself were very unwell and didn't get it sorted. Although the video was done, he was just too unwell to get the, editing and all that sorted. But this week I am going to be using the T-Expert Deep Pour because I am not 100% sure how much this mould takes. I have seen this mould made once before on, I think it was quite a while ago on Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts. And I'm sure he used Deep Pour as well, so that's what I'm going to be doing. As you've seen, I am using the Tiny Turner's Chameleon Powder. I think it was Nether. Yes, I'm sure it was Nether. So this mould here is a D20 dice. The mould itself can either be used as a jar, which is the way I'm doing it just now, or there is another piece where you can put a lid on it so that you can fill it in the one go and make it into, like, maybe put something in the centre bit and make it a whole piece rather than have the top bit coming off. And what I'm doing here is I am using the Nether. I am dusting the lid part of it at the moment. I'm going around to make sure that I don't miss any pieces round about the numbers, as you can see. And I will use a small brush and a little lip bit as well, so that I can get into all the little tiny corners in there as well. I use the big floppy brush to do the main part here, and I will, if I remember right, use the, I tipped it upside down and a lot came out there, so I'm going to use the big brush to just make sure it's all burnished in and get as much of that off in my little mat as well. And just in case anybody's wondering, no, I do not know who Peter Cook is. It was just the name that was on this, like, silicone cake size thing. Well, it was a silicone mat anyway, and I didn't bother looking at it to see what it was. I just saw it and got it and didn't realise it had a name on it. As I said, I'm going to get underneath all the little cornery bits to make sure that I get as much of this powder everywhere that it's meant to be. I'll turn the mould inside out, and I decided here, as you can see me tapping my fingers around thinking about it, I'm going to use a bit of tape so that I don't get any of the nether on the domed shaped bit. It's just normal parcel tape, and I'm buttoning it right up to the edge of the line so that I only powdered this part. And as you can see, I'm super fast, I'm super awesome, and I can powder like crazy. Well, I can't really. Hubby's just sped up a bit. I put the brown masking tape on just to stop the nether going on to the inside bit. And then I brush it all in and then go round again to make sure it's all burnished, and use a smaller brush to go around the lip bit to make sure that that's all powdered as well. I decided that at this point that I wanted to try something that I had seen Wendy over at Toonpish Crafts doing, where you powder your area and then use a bit of tape to, nope, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here I am at this moment, putting a little bit of isopropyl alcohol onto the saucer mould that I used in the video the other week where I did the little cup and saucer. I'm going to clean off the numbers and I'm going to do the numbers in a different colour. That way it just gives it a bit of variant. Yeah, as usual, I can never remember what I'm talking about. And I am just using the Q-tip, cotton bud, whichever you prefer to call it, to clean off the powder that's on the numbers. And here I go super fast again. Look at me go, aren't I clever? Never mind me, I'm just in one of those weird moods today. Once I've done that, I'll go back in. I think, if I remember right, it will be the Let's Resin micropowder that I use to colour the numbers in. And then once I've done that, I'll clean up the numbers on the other part of the mould. This mould, I can't remember if I said it at the start, is a D20. For those that know what a D20 is, it's a D20. If you don't know what a D20 is, it's a dice that's, obviously it's got 20 sides, 20 numbers. And there we go, I just skipped past all that irrelevant scrubbing and cleaning of numbers. The D20 is a dice that you use in the Dungeons and Dragons game. I have a couple of packs of D20s, a couple of packs of D&D dice that I am going to use in this tub. I'm going to use to store my dice in this tub. But here we go. Yes, it was the Let's Resin Gold that I used to do the numbers. The numbers and the little lines are going to be done in the gold Let's Resin powder. What? Here, let's try that again. Here, I will let Ray play some music and I will come back momentarily. Right, here we are, we're back again. As you've seen, I managed to get all the numbers and everything all cleaned up and then powdered. I've took the packing tape off, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the light blue from Let's Resin's chameleon powders, and I am going to dust the little ball part that you can, domed part that you can see here. Now what I want to do is I want to do what Wendy done over on Toonfish Crafts, and I'm going to use the bit of that tape. I'm going to use the packing tape. That's what I was trying to say. I'm going to use the packing tape, and I'm going to dab it to take some of it out, and then I'm going to use another colour over the top of that to fill in the little gaps, because if you're new to resin and you don't know, the colours, the first part that touches the mould stays on the mould. So to put a bit of different colour in it, you have to remove some of the powder and then put your next colour over the areas that have been cleaned. I'm not a teacher, as you can tell. If you want the best advice on it, pop over to Wendy's channel at Toonfish Crafts, and you'll see her doing it. Much better job of it than me. And there we go, sellotape got stuck to my finger. I used the magenta, I think it was, also another Let's Resin colour, to fill in, as you can see there, the little, what look like white patches in the blue, and I'll use that to colour over the top of those patches, so that when you demould it to see it, you will see the slight redness come through where the reds touched the silicone. But spoiler alert, it worked, but you can't see it because dummy here did it on the inside, and it's kind of dark when you look on the inside. You can't really see it as well, but I do love the way that looks. It is really nice. I'm going to have to try and do it again, but on something where I do it on the right side, not on the inside. But that was the Let's Resin magenta, I think. Yeah, because I'm sure the red's slightly different shade for that one. So I was contemplating doing it again, putting another colour on it, but I decided not to bother. And now my hands are off screen because I can't get the sellotape off of my hands. But I didn't have enough stick on the tape, so I couldn't get any more bits off, so I just left it as it was. Because I'm clever that way. I should have got a fresh piece of tape if I was going to do it a third time. But I am now going to mix up my deep pour, because I'm using a deep pour. A deep pour is a 2-to-1 ratio, which means you use 2 parts of part 1, and no, there, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I did get another piece, and I am doing it again. Okay, so I am removing more of the powder from the inside. Oh my goodness. And I am going to colour it. I can't remember what colour I coloured it. But I am using the deep pour bottle to hold it because I don't want to sit it flat down onto the tray. What have we got? That's the red. But you don't really see it very well because when it's on the inside of the little trinket box, you can't really see it because it's kind of dark inside. But use the red and do it again. It does work, but you just can't see it very well. Yeah, as I was saying, the J Diction deep pour is a 2-to-1 ratio. The big bottle is the 2-parter and the small bottle is the 1-parter. So if I was doing like 200 mils of I can't remember which one's part A and which one's part B. I think the big bottle's part A and the small bottle's part B. You would use 200 mils of part A and 100 mils of part B. But that's only if I've got it the right way round. But it tells you on the bottles, if you've never used deep pour before, follow the instructions on the bottles. Check the bottles. It's much safer. I'm using my tiny little resin mixer to mix up my resin. And when you're using a mixer, oh my goodness words, when you're using a mixer, scrape your sides and scrape your bottom so that you know that everything's mixed in together well. I am using the Decoron Black because I still haven't got my hands on any Let's Resin Black. And I'm just mixing that in again, giving it a little swirl to mix the colours in. But there you go, there's my spatula. I'll scrape my sides and scrape my bottom. And then I will leave you to a little bit of music while you are watching. And I will be back when it is time. I was going to say when it's time to demold, but yeah, I'll be back pretty soon. Now I did say I'd be back in a minute, but before I do go, what I've done is I've just sat the lid of the Let's Resin mixing machine on top of that little drip tray that I've been using, just so that the resin can run down it into the drip tray. I'm only going to pour a small amount into this first bit because it's got quite strong angles on it. I'm going to give it some squidgying and all that. But as I says, I'll let Ray put some music on and I'll be back momentarily.
Whispers of light in the velvet sky, soft wings of clouds as they drift by, a touch of grace unseen but near. The world grows quiet, no need to fear. Heavenly angelic, you're the glow I see, floating through the silence where the stars shadows dance beneath the gentle room. The halo's warmth, it lights the air. Every breath feels lighter there. Close your eyes, let it flow. Feel the pull, let it show. Heavenly, angelic, you're the glow I see.
As you can see, I gave the big piece a squidgy and a squeeze, and what I am doing now is I'm tipping the resin roundabout on the inside of the lid bit and squeezing those little points so that I can make sure that I don't have any bubbles in there, because that area will more than definitely be an area where you will get trap bubbles. As you can see, I have poured right up to the edge, domed just tiny bit, but what I have realised is that although my table is straight, that tray isn't straight. So I end up having to put a stick underneath it just to try and prop up a bit. And as you may see, although that is right at the very tip of that jar part of the little, not the lid part, but the jar part of it, you can still see the middle part, which I was absolutely furious at. That part is too big and sticks up, which means the resin doesn't cure over it. It's not covered it. And that's me just trying to suss out the fact that it's my tray that has a wobble in it, a kink in it. I was putting it in the tray so that I could move it, but then I realised the tray's got a kink in it, so it's no matter where I put it, it's going to have difficulty setting straight. But I will put a cocktail stick, a wooden stirring stick underneath it to try and prop it up a bit. But as I was saying, that middle dome part in the inside of the jar sticks up way too far higher than the edges. I was pretty miffed at that because it didn't cover it, and I was worried that there was going to be a great big hole in it, and it had been a complete waste of time, and I was rather annoyed. But I continued on, squeezing and poking around at my edges so that I could make sure that there was no trapped bubbles in it. And I topped that up to the tippity top. And from there, I noticed that it had that little leaky bit. So the lid was not too bad. I managed to get that to stay level. But as you can see, I do have a sturdy stick underneath the base bit. And as you can see, right there in the middle of the pentagram part that you can see on the jar. That's the jar bit. It hasn't covered it it has left a very, very thin coating of resin over the top of it. But it is very soft. I am now demoulding the lid part, and yes, it is still just very slightly soft. You're about 72 hours for a really good cure on the deep pores, but I think I only left it like 38, 40 hours, and that's me just realising at that point that it hadn't cured over the top because that thing was higher than the sides. I struggled quite a bit to get this down, to get it off, so as usual, being a good awesome artist YouTuber, I end up with it off screen, trying to pull it down, trying to twist it round about, doing my best to get it unstuck. And it took me a few moments. I keep remembering that I need to bring it back into shot. So I keep bringing it back into shot and it keeps slipping back up again. So I spend a good couple of minutes trying to get this out of the mould. And as I had said, it is just very slightly soft. So I didn't want to be pushing and straining against it too hard because I didn't want it bending out of shape. But I finally managed it. I got it up and round. And although I am very pleased with the way it looks on the outside, I am both a little miffed at my dumbness. You can see that flat bit at the bottom gives the jar base a bit of a wobble. But as I was saying, I am a little annoyed about the dumbness of the mould poking out the bottom and how it was too high, and I have a very soft, thin layer of resin right there. It's picked up the mica powders okay. So what I do is I fix it. I push it into the middle. It's in the middle. I push it down very carefully so that I know it's not going to rock and rumble all over the place. And that is the lid. I got a little bit of excess where it just slightly started to poke over the edge because of the slight tipped angle on that tray. I will clean up that little extra rim bit. I am looking for my deburn tool, but I can't find it. It's always the same, you can never find what you're looking for when you're looking for it. So I got the little snippers and cleaned it up. What I'm doing here is I am putting a little bit of UV resin in this middle part just so that it's got some strength to it. I don't want to put anything in there and then it just pop that very thin layer of practically paper thin resin. I am using Sig Wong UV resin and I'm just popping any bubbles and then I'll use my UV torch to cure that. But that and the fact that wasn't my mistake, so I wasn't annoyed at myself for that one, but I was rather annoyed at myself for doing the nice texture on the inside, the double colouring, because you can't really see it because it's just too dark And if I had had any black UV resin, I would have put black UV resin on the bottom of that, but I didn't have any. I'm now curing it from the inside. Looks kind of like a solar eclipse, doesn't it? A wrinkly solar eclipse, but a solar eclipse anyway, against that black. But I use my UV torch to clean it up, and then I went away and got my my D&D dice, and when I took that coloury D&D dice that just went in there is the colour that I use, and when I realised that I had done the actual D&D dice the same colour, I was pretty proud. And then I put my hubby's ones in there as well. Coming up will be the glamour shots, and I just want to say, if you've managed to stick through all this video, you definitely deserve a medal. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for your support. If you haven't subscribed, please do consider it. It does not cost anything, and it makes me happy. Leave a link if you so desire, if you enjoyed this. And thank you again very, very muchly for being here. And I will see you next week. And again, I'm sorry this one was late, but thank you guys so much for sticking around. There's me playing with the dice. You decided to try and use it as a dice shaker. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys next week.